G'day, g'day. Cheers, you beautiful human beings. It is wonderful to be with you again. Gosh, it's nice to see you. How are you? How's your day been? I'm I'm 100% certain that some of you are fucking stoked about all the Slaanesh release stuff. And definitely, yeah, like just Jesus Christ, look at that chat. It has more tentacles than some kind of Japanese porn. So look, I'm really glad that you're excited. I'm excited personally. So we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff today. We're going to be chatting about some of the. We're going to be having a little chat about some of the new releases going on. We're going to be chatting about all of the many various fantastic things that are coming our way. But at the moment. I'm just going to be playing around with my sound system because just as we went live, it done went and kicked poor Andy, who is the TO of the event, out of my chat. And I really want to have a chat with him as well. So we got to bring him in. And I'm going to try and fix that. So just bear with me for 30 seconds, folks. I'm hoping that you can hear me. That would be really good news. So yeah, we'll find out if we can do that. We'll just here. Let's have a little play around and see that. I'm hoping that. Oh yeah, the frame rate at the start is always fucked. Like that's just it's while it catches up with the internet and tries to function as an internet, it's going to take a little while. So yeah, let's just play with that one there, and we'll have a jump in there and see if that's going to be a little bit better there. It's the fun thing with the many pieces of technology that have to work simultaneously for this to operate. So yeah, so it's I'm just trying to play that. There we go. Let's see if this will do. Let's get that fucking out and let's fucking go in like a sack full of cats at that and see if it fixes stuff up. Now. Yes, sorry, LLV, the frame rate is a bit off. It's got to catch up with us, unfortunately. It does that. The internet is a piece of hot garbage, I think. No, I don't think that. It's mostly me just doing it. And now, okay, so it looks like we're back in business now. It's obviously, yeah, I bring the Aussie connection with me wherever I go. No matter where I go in the world, that's what we're going to be operating with. Now, so lots to talk about. G'day everybody, you beautiful people. Wonderful to see you. Obviously a lot has gone on in the last weekend. There was the West Coast GT, which just had a really awesome turnout. People just having a little chat about what my mum is like. And for the record, she's been sailing all weekend, so she's been surrounded by seamen. That is a double entendre that I never ever want to use in my life ever again. But we're going to be chatting first and foremost about the West Coast GT because it was fucking weird. And joining me to have a chat about that is the TO of the event who we spoke to last week, Mr. Andy Selwood. Andy, how are you going, mate?
I am fantastic, thanks, Dan. It's been great to recover today, not to have to go to work, being Easter Monday. So I am doing really well, thanks.
Yeah, and feeling a little bit more alive, I take it.
Yeah, I was pretty wiped last night after the second day. I had a beer and some wine and felt pretty good.
And just kind of settled into that recovery mode thing. Like the one that I notice is the most is like the left shoulder. I get that pain in my left shoulder, and it's like from leaning over a table. I think it's for some reason it's the left shoulder that gets me. Do you have like game pain after you finish stuff?
I sometimes I do. I think the main thing is that like I get so focused on a game. After the game's done, I realize that I haven't like peed for like 3 hours. And like 4 hours or something.
Just your body is just like, please God, if you don't do this, it's all over. Like we're totally cooked. Oop. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching, I just am. I'm just rolling through stingers because the machine can only like it's decided that for you all to look at our wonderful animated stinger again. So enjoy that. That's for free. Um, so okay, before we get into the results and where it went, because it's fucking weird. It's fucking weird. I'm gonna say that out loud. I'm gonna say that proud for everybody. The results were strange. Um, some people saying that their knees are fucked from all the hot and wild action on the tabletop. Good, good. So basically, yes, LLV, hope to see the lists. 100% we're going to be going over the lists that took out the top places. But first and foremost, Andy, like your first major event, I guess, as a TO. From my side of things, it ran like clockwork. What was your like experience, your feelings, your feedback? Like, what was it?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I'm very, very happy. Everybody's been just saying really nice things and sort of thanking me, and saying that it felt like I've been doing this for years or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. So that's really nice to hear. So
Mm.
it's good to get that kind of feedback.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because especially being the first
Yeah,
one.
it ran smooth. It was amazing. The thing that I really liked as well is that people were like, because you use best coast pairings, and that obviously it can be set to show the ladder and where people are playing and placing and stuff like that. And so people were looking at it and like working things out or thinking that they were working things out and where people were coming, but they're not thinking about the fact that all best coast pairings was taking into account was the major minor victory score and kill points. So I think it was kind of
Right.
cool then when it got to the end because people were like, oh fuck, right, there's all of this other stuff that I didn't take into account when I was thinking that I'd worked it out. So yeah, I thought that was really awesome. Yeah. What was your experience? Anything you'd do differently? Anything that you'd try to do a different way?
I think, the main thing, and we talked about this a bit at the event, was, sort of designing a very kind of idiot-proof
Mm-hmm.
system for people to record their results.
Yes.
You know, and I tried to sort of lay out,
Mm-hmm.
your victory points are your scenario plus your secondary objectives, but you know, um, there's a lot going on. There's
Mm-hmm.
kill points, there's victory points.
Mm.
So I think people were not sure what to add to what, and then there were battle points. So I think I would that's the first thing I would do
Mm-hmm.
is it's kind of idiot proof, and also using the best coast pairings was amazing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But again, people didn't know what they were entering, and
Mm-hmm.
so that's something that maybe at the beginning I could have kind of just gone over what people were going to be putting into that.
Mm. Oh, look, as somebody who I would like to say that I am, like, I would give myself out of 10. Like, if I was creating a character in, like, D&D and I had to give myself an intelligence and wisdom score out of 10, it wouldn't be high, right? Like I'm definitely not something particularly high on the scale, but I would 100% say that I am clever enough to understand things. But even when I get to events, I get confused because there's games going on. There's like shiny shit to look at. There's so many people to meet. I like, yeah, we spoke about it on the day, but definitely, like, as much as you can idiot proof uh, an event, it just takes the pressure off the player who and like we all have potato moments. Like we all have that moment where we're looking at something and we're like, sweet, and then walk away and we're like, oh, that was just fucking dumb. Like how many times in a game do you have a tactic that you then totally fuck up and you're just like, I don't know what I did. Like so filling out stuff in an app, there's buttons, man. That's hard. So your major takeaway is that gamers are kind of like cats or preschoolers, and and at an event, you need to make it as easy for us to kind of flow through as possible, correct?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think, there's that great statement about communication. The biggest problem with communication is actually happened.
Yeah.
We sometimes assume that we've explained ourselves, but
Hmm.
as you say, there's a lot going on. People are probably tense, thinking about their game, and they might be listening to you, but or later they've moved on, and
Hmm.
so yeah, as I say, like it's just and so designing something that's clear and you know now that I have a sense of like what needs to be entered and everything,
Hmm.
I can explain it, I think, better.
Yeah, and I think that that's probably like also talking that's about player experience too. You're chatting talking about how to make the player experience as smooth and streamlined as possible, and that's fucking awesome. So let's have a chat about the results, particularly the podium, like the top five. So predictions from the stats man slash machine slash cyborg sent back to provide stats on War Dolly's LLV. His call was in first place Flesh Eater Courts, second place Daughters of Cain, third place Hosts of Slaanesh. Soon to be Hedon Knights of Slaanesh, which we will talk about later in the show, so don't worry. Now, your top picks from the TO in the know were Skaven Tide in one, which was a pretty solid call because there were four Skaven Tide players. Second being Nighthaunt, and then third Iron Jaws. Now, they're pretty good, but I think the thing that we have to take away here is that you beat the stats machine, Andy, because you were the only one to get any of your predictions right. How does that feel? You beat the machine. How does that feel?
Yeah, it feels pretty good. I
Mm.
mean, as you're probably gonna as we're probably gonna talk about, there's some people that got up to the top there that were a bit of a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And as we're going to be talking about sort of overall scores, so we're not just talking about
Yes, definitely. Sorry,
um,
I might just
games. We're
yeah, I
talking
might just
about
point that out to everyone. So what we're looking at here are the top placings overall. So that's including. So there was a like a core kind of basic painting rubric that capped out at 25 points. There was like a gamesmanship kind of score as well. So credit where it's due. The like best general and most bloodthirsty and stuff like that. Those people did really well. But this is we're looking at kind of the overall combination of everything in this. And I guess we should probably just reveal to everyone what that was. G'day, Rerolling Ones. Lovely to see you back in the chat after meeting you in person. A very dashing man. And make me envious of like his shirts as well. Like I love a bright colored shirt. And also credit on his army too. So bringing the shooting meta back one fucking long strike crossbow at a time, but a really beautiful like bright green comboed with a really deep kind of midnight blue color scheme. It was just gorgeous on the models too. So yeah, credit there. There were lots of fucking cool shit going on, which I'll talk about later. But while I've got you with me, Andy, I want to be talking about the events. And Dispossessed we'll talk about later. So don't worry, I didn't fucking miss a chance to talk about Dispossessed, but we will reveal to you the overall results, the top five placings overall, coming at you right now, ladies and gentlemen. And Andy, I don't know if you can see a screen right now, so I'll talk through them with everybody. The top five placings were Disciples of Zinch taking one, Grand Alliance Destruction taking two, Iron Jaws taking three, Skaven Tide in fourth, and Flesh Eater Courts in fifth. So that was the top five. Now, Andy, thoughts, man? What did you see this coming? Like you picked Iron Jaws in third. Sorry, before we do this, Arkham said he'll give us 1,000 bits if I say the I love you, but I can't say that. I'm not talking. No, No, I might be a cam girl, but I'm not going to go that far. I can't lower myself. I drank a fucking Foster's for you people. I'm not going to talk shit about Dispossessed. So Andy, what was your thoughts when you saw it? When you saw that as the outcome?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously the two were not really predicted. So
Mm.
Zinch
Mm-hmm.
coming in at number one. The guy that was playing them was a really good guy,
Mm-hmm.
really sharp player.
Mm.
He seemed to be very well prepared, and he totally earned that. Um,
Mm.
just as an aside, so I actually gave him best general, which was the highest kind of order for this thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then so the destruction player sort of technically got best overall, but in terms of the rankings, the Zinch
Yeah,
player was the
yeah. So
highest.
this is once you take out all the other awards and trophies and stuff like that. This is our core outcome. And yeah, I like looking at the list as well. It definitely struck me as the list of someone who knows their army inside and out incredibly well, with a fair few tricks. As it, we'll look at, we'll go through the top three lists later, ladies and gentlemen. Don't stress about that. But yeah, it was a really interesting list. And yeah, well played as well from all reports. So that's Zinch. I mean, Zinch haven't seen a lot of limelight for a while. Like they've kind of been out. Um, oh God, knock knock. Who's there? Just talking about the idea of a full Brazilian wax dwarf. And that is an image that will be burned into my memory. I once had all of the body hair waxed off me from the neck down after losing a bet, and I can only imagine what that must feel like for something as hairier than me. And I'm probably like a 5 out of 10 for hair, so I can only imagine that would have been much worse. Um, so yeah, the Grand Alliance Destruction as well coming in second. I actually played against this army, and it was a really tactical game, a really tight tactical game, and it we'll look at it in a minute, and it had 3 Thunder Tusks in it, so I know it would be really easy to write it off as a list that just tries to snowball you in the fucking face. But it was actually a tight army, well played, and yeah, I really rated it. What did you think about it?
Yeah, I was impressed. Nick, who was running it, came over from Vancouver Island,
Mm.
and he used to live in Vancouver, and me and him have a thing where we trade insults.
Good, good.
So I was really happy that he came, and I was really happy that he did well. And I'll be interested to see what you sort of how you break down his list,
Mm.
knowing that you played it.
Yeah, yeah. The excuse me, and a few people in the chat asking about Flesh Eater Courts. I think they dropped one game, I believe. Uh, Andy, correct me if I'm wrong. Flesh Eater Courts. Do you know if they went 4 wins and 1 loss?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so 4 wins and 1 loss for Flesh Eater Courts, which marks the first competitive event where. Oh, see you later, Arkahan. Go get a good, lovely little tuck it out night's sleep. Go and rest your tiny head. Or regular size head or large head. I don't want to assume the size of your head. I imagine it's beautiful though, however big or small it may be. But yeah, the first event since the new book came out where Flesh Eater Courts haven't gone 5 straight wins. Now, the loss for Flesh Eater Courts was in Knife to the Heart. And I spoke to the bloke playing him, who was an absolute dead set legend. And he said he wanted me to make sure that everyone understood that that loss was out of player error. He made a big mistake when in forgetting that in Knife to the Heart you can lose before you have a chance to get stuff back. Which, to be honest, is I think a mistake that everyone makes at some point. Andy, have you ever done that one?
You know what? I haven't played it recently, but I included it because you know, as maybe like a test of people's ability to focus on what the mission is all about. And it's not that I want people to sort of play gotcha,
Mm,
but you know, for
mm,
people who have maybe done a bit of prep and thought about how to win that,
mm,
I think that you know it sort of rewards people for thinking that that way tactically.
Yeah, I actually think it was one of the few missions that you could potentially get the win over them on, because it would have been a tight one. But oh, he's in the chat, Rich. Lovely to see you, mate. And can I just say that I'm a bit of an aficionado when it comes to beards. I know beards quite well. Being a dwarf player and a beardless man myself, I appreciate them whenever I see it. And that man has possibly the finest beard I have ever seen. It looks like it was sculpted out of like marble and attached to his face. And it's just like it's buoyant and it's beautiful and it's perfectly shaped. Like just he is like it is the most perfect beard. Also a lovely bloke. Gonna put that out there as well. Just the loveliest bloke, friendliest, and so he is the first Flesh Eater Courts player that I've met that I will give a pass on for playing Gristlegore based on the quality of beard and the loveliness of human. But yeah, and as he said, you know, like some of his first games with it, but fucking legend and a beautiful army as well. It definitely wasn't an army that was just quickly cobbled together to take advantage of a new book. It was stunning. It was like bright pops of green and white to counter like flesh and blood. It was gorgeous. Yeah, you saw it, Andy. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, people were asking me, because at the lunch on the second day, we were doing the best painted voting, and
Mm,
people were asking me what I would vote for, and that was definitely
mm,
in my top three in terms of the armies
mm.
there. It was the level of detail was
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh yeah. It was something else. So yeah, that was gorgeous. That was yeah. I as some people are pointing out, I had a beard. I used to have a glorious beard. I even dyed it red and green for Christmas. But yeah, unfortunately, it's gone now. It comes back every Christmas though, so you know it'll be back. It'll be back just a little while. That's all. Um, so the other results that we've obviously got here and is Iron Jaws in third, and Grand Alliance Destruction in like Grand Alliance Destruction we've spoken about. Sorry, but Iron Jaws in third. What the ever living fuck? And now let's talk about. Let's be honest. This wasn't a list that like crushed it in soft scores and that's what flung it up. This was this was actually a list we spoke about last week. Uh, the Infinity War Shock and Bore, and I believe it's the list that you actually picked to be in third, and it came in third. Andy, man, how did you know?
Yeah, I had played against this list,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I was well aware of what it could do.
Mm,
And it's ways to what it does,
mm,
but you have to really know how to do that, and how to chaff properly.
mm.
Um, if you give it an inch, it'll take a mile, as it were.
Definitely.
So
I actually played against the list myself before the event. So I was actually kind of hoping that I wouldn't come up against it just because I kind of knew how it worked. And it would be a very easy, like once you kind of have experienced it, I think it's a list that you probably are much better equipped to defeat. But because like on paper and in discussion, you're like, oh, that's what it does, that's how it's going to work, blah blah blah. And then when it happens, you know, all of the memes that are coming out about like Ant-Man beating Thanos by going up his butt and then expanding and exploding, right? Or if you haven't seen those memes, then you're missing out. uh, that's that's what it feels like to play against this list. You just get like hit and then shit mixed so hard it feels like the diameter of your anal sphincter has just like both imploded and then explode. It's like a black hole. Your entire rectal cavity becomes a black hole, and all that's pouring down it is gore grunters. That's the experience of playing against this list. It's a great list. Like I'm going to go through it a little bit later, but yeah, you picked it. You knew it was. You I guess you had the skinny. You knew it was coming in hot.
yeah, I just Well, and there were other Iron Jaws lists too,
Mm, mm,
that could possibly do something similar. But in the game list, one of those boars, a unit of 10 Grimghast
mm,
Reapers, and just one boar
mm.
took out the 10
I
Reapers.
honestly think having played against it, one of the few things other than an army with an excessive amount of chaff that would be able to weather it is an army that can either dance around it, which I think it had to play the Zinch army, and Alex, who was playing it, was saying in the chat that he played against the bloke with the Zinch army and he knew what he was doing. He had a plan and like Zinch had a plan. That plan came together, but also the whole. Sorry, Night Scribe, just chime in. Your ass is like your eye. Anything that goes in feels way bigger than it actually is. Oh, good. But yeah, it definitely I think is the kind of list that could be like potentially taken apart if something has the right tools to deal with it. Like say a Stormcast army that can buff units of Sequitors to two up re-rolling saves could potentially weather the storm of attacks that were coming at it. But yeah, the sheer ferocity of that list was pretty righteous. And then, of course, also featuring quite well in the results there, Skaven Tide coming in fourth. I mean, I would be surprised if we didn't see them in the top five. I'm actually surprised they didn't make the top three. We'll be looking at the list. We won't be looking at the fourth and fifth lists. I'm so sorry. We just don't have enough time, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, like looking at your top five there, Andy, I would say I would expect to see Skaven Tide and Flesh Eater Courts in there. I'm surprised. I'm not surprised to see Disciples of Zinch there. I'm just surprised to see them at number one. Fuck right off second and third. No one would have seen that coming. But how do you feel looking at it? What is that like? I mean, it was your event, man, and they're your top five, and it excites me. I think it's fucking great. So how does that make you feel?
Yeah, I feel good about it. I mean, I think I may have mentioned when we chatted before, there's a bit of a destruction meta
Hmm.
up here in British Columbia,
Hmm.
we seem to like our um destruction armies,
Hmm.
marching across the table and kind of kicking the door in
Yeah.
and know what they're doing. And I think that's how it kind of played out. Just looking at maybe the top 10 as well, Order didn't do as well.
We don't.
But
We don't need to talk about that. We don't need to talk about that.
definitely it was a chaos and destruction. I think they kind of were the standouts in this tournament.
Yeah, it was, and I mean, I'm happy to see it as well because Destruction kind of doesn't get a whole lot of rep. It doesn't seem to do particularly well in the stats. I mean, even Gloomspite with their release, we're yet to see the kind of dominance that we have from Skaven and Flesh Eater Courts. So, yeah, it's awesome. I'm digging it. I like the way that it played out. I mean, it was an awesome event to be at as well. Um, so many fucking legendary people. But yeah, is there any last things that you'd like to chat about before I let you go? I know last week you were lovely and stayed chatting for like fucking 3 hours or some shit. So I don't want to take your entire life away from you today. But yeah, is there anything else you want to have a chat about?
I mean, I think I would say, briefly is that, I feel inspired,
Mm,
coming away from the tournament, just sort of seeing all the effort that people put into their armies and just how much fun they had in the games. And, um, I was like, hey, I want to get to a tournament and
mm,
and play. And so I signed up for Shift, which is in Bellevue,
mm-hmm,
Washington
mm-hmm.
State, at the start of August. So that, and I started writing out lists and building models, and it was just very inspiring. And yeah, I think that's I think tournaments always give you a little bit of a kick, you know.
Yeah, and like it's that addiction as well. I remember CanCon 2 years ago. So we went there. It was a 110 player event. Oh my god, Gym 980. I swear to you, the toilet and the hand dryer review is coming. I promise you, it is coming. The event toilet and hand dryer review is on the way. In fact, I'm going to write it on my hand so that I don't leave you hanging there. So sorry to interrupt, Andy. Gym 980. So toilet and hand dryer, because that's all that matters in an honest wargamer event review. But that hype. So it was a 110 player tournament. I was in a car with two other blokes, and we were all fucking wrecked. We were exhausted. It'd been a couple of big nights of drinking, big games, really hot. We were in the car on the way back, and we were like, the first 15 minutes, we were just kind of driving, being like, fuck, I couldn't play another game of War Dollies if I tried. And then as we kind of went, like the further we went, after probably about 20 minutes, we were all sitting there working out lists, and the bloke driving is like saying, hey, can you open Azir and start putting this list together? And then we stopped at like a Macca's or something, a McDonald's for those, or a Mickey D's. Is that the local, like we say Macca's back home? I think it's Mickey D's here. Yeah. We stopped in there, and everyone's sitting down doing lists. Everyone's like flicking through, finding the next event. And I think by the time we got home, everyone in the car had signed up for the next event coming. So yeah, it's totally like a drug. It's an addiction, and it grabs you. So yeah, I'm glad that it was also your experience of that as well. That it wasn't like you finished as a TO and you just like, Jesus fuck, thank God that's over.
So there was a little bit of that, but not a lot, you know.
Just a bee's dick of it, yeah. Well, look, from my side of things, it was a fucking excellent event. I know everyone had an amazing time there, or everyone that I spoke to said that. So yeah, thank you so much from me, from everyone else. That was fucking awesome. Thanks, man.
Welcome. Yep. I'll look forward to chatting to you again soon.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, we'll catch you next time. Ladies and gentlemen in the chat, please say goodbye to Andy. Give him massive snaps. First ever tournament and a fucking banger. More coming up. Don't worry, we are going to go through the lists that did really well. Andy, see you later, mate. Have an awesome evening.
Take care, mate.
See you later. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Andy, the West Coast GT tournament official, the TO, the man with the plan who ran the whole thing. Now, what we're going to have a little look at now is we're going to go through... Hold up, what the fuck did I just close? Yeah, no, that's fine. Everything's working. Everything's working fine. I definitely didn't just shut down a very important piece of technology. So basically, the event, for those who are joining us late, welcome, hello, it's wonderful to have you here. The event, these were the top 5 that you're looking at to destruction, and this is overall as well. This isn't just gaming points. This is overall. Yeah, people saying bye, Andy, signing off, saying yeah, it was an awesome fucking event. And so for those of you who were interested, Gym 980, you want the review about the hand dryers and the toilets. Now, I'm going to say one thing about toilets since I got over here. The whole damn time that I have been in this country. And that's that your toilets feel like airline toilets. Like they suck with the fury of some kind of hungry, gelatinous sea creature. It's like it's scared that your poos are going to clog up the toilet. So you push that flush button, you better get the fuck away because it's going to rip the bottom out of it. It's like being on an airplane toilet. It scares me. I am scared every time I go to the toilet, even in my own home or this elevator that I record out of. I am terrified anytime I go to the bathroom. You take your life in your hands and you just pray that nothing gets removed from the bottom of you. So the toilets, look, I'm going to give them a solid 7 out of 10. They were wider than I anticipated, but also like slightly shorter. And that it made me feel a little bit uncomfortable because in Australia we have very slim, sleek, oval-shaped toilets, and they're much more of a circle here. And I miss my ovular toilets. The hand dryers, on the other hand, they were my personal favorite type of hand dryer, and that is the paper version. I prefer paper. I know it's probably bad for the environment unless it's recycled. I don't fucking know, but it means that I don't feel like everything's dirty on me. I feel cleaner with paper, so it was good. I'd give them a solid. Actually, no, I give them a 6. You know why? Because they were paper hand dryers that you had to like push the button and then it'd go like and give you like your single serve of hand, and then you had to like take that off, and like that's never enough to dry 2 hands. Like it's never enough. So then you'd have to go like and get the second one, and then and get the like you needed 3, and it was great. Paper hand dryers, great. Snaps for you, but limiting the amount of paper I can use. If I got wet hands, I don't have time to wait. I got wood ollies to play. So we'll go whatever I said, a 7 and a 6, I think, for those. Way more sanitary. Yeah, way more sanitary. Amen to Pat. Yep, people, big props for paper, big love for paper, which is obviously the most important part of an event review is reviewing the hand dryers and the toilets, which we have now done. If there is anything else you need to know on that front, please let me know, Jim980. I will 100% give you the hit up on that one. Before we go on, I just want to quickly like shout out like huge to the Dimensional Cascade. Go and check him out on Twitch. I actually played one of the rounds on the stream, so you can watch it all back. Oh god, it was a sensor, not a button. Fuck me. But their setup is amazing. Their quality is spectacular. Go check them out. They've got some fucking cool stuff. I also met the gentleman behind Rerolling Ones. We spoke about his sexy Stormcast list just before, that gorgeous color combo, and bringing the shooting meta back, which hits me where I live. But yeah, it was fucking awesome. Just meeting people who are putting out these awesome stuff. And can I just say, Dimensional Cascade has possibly the world's finest battle mat. Like, beyond anything I have ever seen. So it was like, imagine your regular standard battle mat, right? Like, and this was the top one table. Elf Bro, flush power was off the charts. Like, it would just about suck out your intestines and your small bowel any time that you tried to use it if you remained sitting while you flushed. You just about needed like a kind of dangling bar that you would hang off and do a chin up over the toilet to stay safe from its suctional power. The thing to look at, if you can see it, I'm not sure, because I think the best part about it is this battle mat that he's made. It's so kind of, it's perfect. It's a perfect looking battle mat. Just looks like the kind of battle mat you would get anywhere. But the thing that's awesome is there's this really soft, like muted kind of gray markings that around all of the important measurements. So all the points that an objective can go, there is a soft kind of mark, like a cross point where the objective goes, and then the capture ring around it, which means that it made our game, the game that I've got to play on it, I think it was game 3, it made an absolute dream, because it meant when you were going, okay, I'm going to go capture that objective, you knew how far you had to move in to capture it. Like, it's just spectacular. So massive snaps. Huge props. Go check out their stuff because it's awesome. We had a bit of a chat, and we're going to try and bring some fucking sexy stuff to everybody at events and stuff in the future. But yeah, that just not only an awesome human, definitely. Like not taking, like, not being like, oh yeah, technology and battle mat amazing, but person blah. No, awesome human. Except for his kind of like display for his Gloomspite Gits army was like a ruined dwarf, like mountain fortress. So that fucking hurt me on an emotional level. Actually, I got hurt on an emotional level by a couple of things at the event. I'll talk about the other one in a second. But it's a gorgeous diorama, if not for the fact that it was a fucking ruined dwarf fortress, which hurt me. A few people, big love for their mats. I know Alex picked up one. And so it's perfect. And just something else. You know, like when scenery dice were first made, and everyone was like, "My fucking god." Careful with snaps. Yeah, careful with snaps. But it's kind of like that moment. Like I want to possess one. I'll just fucking put it on my wall and just look at it and be like, it would make deployment and playing games such a goddamn dream. So huge props for just the creativity, but also like the quality and just fucking awesome. So go check out their stuff. They're throwing up battle reports and things like that. And it was great. Apologizing about that ruined fortress. Thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, next, just scrape off all of that. Oh, you've got a dispossessed army as well. Okay, no, I now forgive you because then that can double. I see. I'm so sorry, LLV. I didn't drum up enough money dancing on tables to make it to Bobo. I tried so hard. I shook my little butt. I actually danced with far more people than I probably should have. Like most, like when you're passing people at a table, I find that it's always awkward when you're doing like excuse me. So I just fucking dance because I'm like, let's lean into the weird. So yes, definitely mats. How do we get one of these mats? Dimensional Cascade. What I'll do is we'll have a chat and I'll get like I'll put it on Twitter or something like that. I think that's the best way because set up a web store because fucking people are gonna want them. They're frothy. Sorry, I just need a drink. Oh, the 8 Peaks fell a long time ago, and Belgar Ironhammer was a fool to go back for them. Yes, you heard me. He was a fool. That was a bit of dwarf old Ed knowledge for those who have missed it. But just so many fucking rad people. Also, for those of you who remember, I did on the list review show last week. I spoke about like kind of a not Eldritch Council, Celestial Council thing list that was like one wizard from all of the different fraternities. I saw it. It was beautiful. It's spectacular, and it's just amazing. Because it was fucking awesome. That list. Go back and have a read, or if you want to check it out. Watch the previous show if you want to check it out. It's towards the end. It was one of the last ones we did. It was like one of all of the colleges of magic, so like Azir and blah 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 blah. And the list was gorgeous. The models were great. A lovely bloke, and just I was really happy. You know when you see a list and you're like, that's really fucking cool, and then you get to finally see it in real life, and it's just as awesome as it was on list. Yeah, it was great. Look, I know what people want. You want lists. That's what you want, right? We want to talk lists. So let's fucking look at some lists, shall we? Now these we're going to go through 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to look at the top 3 lists. I'm going to have a chat about just. We're not going to go super in depth, only because I guess if you know the lists, you're going to know them. But also, I don't necessarily want to strip the magic away from those people because there's nothing worse than when someone's just like, oh, this is exactly how this list plays and this is how to beat it. But I'd like to show people the lists that came in 1, 2, and 3. This was our first place getter, Disciples of Tzeentch, run by Matt, hailing out of Gur, which was obviously to get that cheeky Griff Feather Charm. And now look, on paper, I guess this list doesn't really jump out as hyper powerful because it's obvious. I mean, other than like 9 Zamgor Enlightened is fucked. It's like they were already pretty good and then they got better. But the rest of the list, like Gaunt Summoner with Chaos Familiars, it's like, yeah, you see it. It's not exactly a massive wound model, so it can be picked off. But Gaunt Summoner with those. Kairos Fateweaver. Now, really, Kairos Fateweaver has kind of been out of favor since the massive change, because for those who don't know, Kairos Fateweaver is the named big Lord of Chickens. Yeah, Lord of Chickens, that's him. Lord of Change, the big bin chicken, the ibis with 2 heads, and he was okay, all right, okay, yeah, I'll reveal all of the tricks of the trade of the Iron Jaws list that came in 3rd. So the big chicken himself, so the named Lord of Change, and his big thing is that he once per game can change any dice roll to the result that he wants, whether it's yours, your opponent's, whatever. Now, there used to be no restrictions on that, which meant that he could change the dice roll for priority So basically, you could go, sweet, you rolled a 2 and your opponent rolled a 4, and then you go, well, I'll just change my roll to a 6, so I win. They changed that. Uh, they changed that right out so that it can't affect the priority roll, but he can still change one dice roll that he wants to turn. So since that has happened, you don't really see the big chicken in a lot of lists anymore. People usually tend to go with just a regular Lord of Change because they can make it in the general and give him an artifact and stuff like that, make him more durable or more spelly or whatever the fuck they want to do. So Kairos is a bit of a baller. Now, the kind of the other thing that's really cool here, the Ogroid Thaumaturge has his base spell is fucking great. Like if it does damage to something, then you summon Brimstone Horrors, which means that you can summon them as a screen or into combat to tie something up. It's fucking great. It's a great spell. A+, love it. Good model. Just good everything. I know Ash McEwen back in Australia plays the shit out of it, and he's done that to me a couple of times. It's painful as hell when there's like one little or two little bases of fucking Brimstone Horrors 2.9 inches away from a unit so that you just can't pile in enough models to attack them. But yeah, it's fucking great. It's great. The combo there with the casters, obviously, the general is giving rerolls of 1 to cast. Kairos gets to change his lowest dice roll to match his highest dice roll. It almost means that you're never failing to cast a spell. Fold Reality there brings demons back, which can be used on those pink horrors or the enlightened, because those discs are demons. They're rocking around on their little floaty balls. But the really, like, I just really dig the combo of endless spells as well. Like the Balewind is obviously to extend the Gaunt Summoner. Between that and Arcane Sacrifice, he can basically just like fucking smash the board with his spells. I think that gives him a grand total like plus 15 to his casting range or something, which is just freaking great for his spell at deleting hordes. Kairos is not too shabby either. And the Thaumaturge with Treacherous Bond, like being able to kind of bounce wounds just to rush into combat, punch shit in the head, and then not take any wounds back. Yeah, it's awesome. The Kyric Acolytes, I actually think they're one of the coolest units. They're the sickest models, but you barely ever see them because they're point for point not as good as Zangor, but fucking 40 of them is a lot of shooting, especially with that Witchfire Coven. So yeah, that was the list that took out number 1. Now, I think the thing that I really dig about it is that his skill with this list, Matt's skill with this list was tippity top. Oh yeah, Alex, who played him. So Alex is actually the Iron Jaws player whose list we'll be looking at third. He played the absolute shit out of this list. He knew it inside and out. And the thing I really dig is it's obviously a list that he has put together through a huge understanding of it and just turned it out. So yeah, first place going there, and deservedly so. Just awesomely well played and a really tight list. So now we'll have a sticky beak, a cheeky little look at the list that came on in and took second place. So second overall, if I can find where I put it. There it is. So we will have a little look-see here, unless I press the wrong button, then we go back to the lava transition, because I've done that a couple of times for those who've been with us since the start. I went and threw in a few lava transitions. Nailed it. Fucking crushed this. God, I know what I'm doing. So this is the destruction list, the mixed destruction, Grand Alliance destruction that took out second place. Gur for the Grith Feather Charm, so obviously the Tzeentch and this destruction list are mates because they've got that charm, which is obviously just sold everywhere in the mortal realms. Like it's like that. I like when you read the actual thing for the. In fact, I'm going to get it up and read it for you right now. So the little blurb for the Grith Feather Charm says, "Rarely do these feathers fall, and those who manage to acquire one are lucky indeed." Fuck that for a joke. Rarely do they fall. Every fucking man and his dog has a Grith Feather Charm. It's like somewhere there is a peasant with one around his neck and a Stormcast wanders by and it's just like, oh yes, oh fuck, we're wearing the same shit. Like everywhere you go, people are wearing ethereal amulets and Grith Feather Charms. They are not rare. Do not pretend. You get them from some discount dodgy, you know what? You know those machines that you put like 50 cents in and turn the crank and like a little plastic toy ring or some shit comes out? That is where you get a Grith Feather Charm. The list is obviously Frostlord on Thundertusk, 2 Huskguards on Thunder Tusk, and then a Fungoid Shaman for that little bit of casting love. 3 20s of Gloomspite Gits, 2 shooting you with their little bows, 1 stabbing you with their little spears, and those fucking nets that can go and eat a sack of dicks, and then 2 5s of Ironjaw's Brutes, because they are just nice and tanky and have a bit of hurt. Now, on paper, this list probably doesn't really look like much, but in practice, I just want to leave the snowballs right out, because the thing that I would like to say about this list is that I played it. I played it, minor loss in total commitment, and it was a very, very tactical game, really tight. The snowballs did a bit, but not massive. To be honest, it was kind of the brutes who, I mean, the Frostlord on Thunder Tusk with Wild Fury getting extra attacks as he gets wounded it's fucking great, because it's like Griff Feather Charm, you're putting the hurt on to try and hurt him, but then you're missing more, you're only getting a few through, and then he's just getting fucking beefier and stabbing you even more with his spear. Great combo. But to be honest, it's the combo of the Gits and the Brutes that just really did it. Having that screen of Gits with the heavy hitting Brutes behind you, it means that you've got enough to deal with hordes and large amounts between the Huskguards and the Gloomspite, but then the Brutes, if there's a big monster, it was a really interesting list, and was not played in the way that you would anticipate seeing this list. Like, you would expect it to just run forward and snowball you, and to be fair, Nick said he does that sometimes if his opponent gives him too tempting a target. But he was very tight with it, played it really well. So this very awesome list, and I'm very excited to see it take second, because you don't really see Beast Claw Raider units getting up particularly high these days. So I fucking love it. I think it's awesome, and yeah, just a great 1-2 punch list that I think when you look at, you're like, oh yeah, I see what it does, I see how it works. But then in practice, it's quite tactically flexible, surprisingly durable, and yeah, as people are saying, snowballs are fucking terrifying. The Eiffel Tower trinket of the AOS realm. Yes, that is exactly what Griff Feather Charms are. And yeah, snowballs are terrifying, but after you put a few wounds on them, when they go down to D6, they're not as terrifying. So, I mean, the Huskguards are obviously healing each other. It's a great little combo there. But they can be taken down. So I think it's a really cool list. And I'd love to play it again. I think it was just really awesome, really interesting, and yeah, just fucking baller. So that was the list that took out second place. And third and finally, and the one that honestly I think is kind of just fucking ridiculous and amazing. So this, and well timed with the release of the Avengers 2. It was the Infinity War Shock and Bore list. Now, we looked at this list last week. Netters are not your friends. Netters are not your friends, especially when there are netters next to a Frostlord on Stonehorn with the Griff Feather Charm, which means that you're at like -3. Like you're swinging wild. It's like you've just basically got a big old floppy dildo and you're just trying to hit him, and it's never going to happen, because the more you do, the more it bounces back. But this was the list, the Infinity War Shock and Bore. So this is the Ironjaw's list that came in third. And now this isn't no painting masters. This isn't something with, and not throwing shade at them, but this is a tournament where overall your secondary scores, so gamesmanship and painting, were only very base. They were there to give a incentive to get your stuff painted and to play like a good human being and properly, but without really heavily weighting. And I'm pretty confident, I'll double check with Andy, but I'm pretty confident that favorite army, favorite painted, and best sports votes didn't contribute to your overall standings. So I dig that this list coming in third is significant, and it matters. And to his credit, Alex plays the shit out of it. He knows it really, really well. So Ironjaws from Haish to get that Guardian's Coronet, and I believe Aether Quartz Brooch, or whatever the fuck it is. But the cool thing is just the sheer metric fuck ton of War attacks. So basically, those who don't know, the Mega Awesome Maw Crusher command ability calls a War, and you roll dice, and I think if you roll a 6, you get 2 or 3 extra attacks. If you roll something else, blah blah blah. Prophet of the War lets him re-roll that dice. and then the Ether Quartz Brooch lets him get it back. Now, this list comes in at only 1,800 points. 1,800 points means that you're packing 4 command points just off the points you're missing. And then on top of that, you got a formation, so that's 5 command points. And then you've got a Fungoid Cave Shaman who can potentially give you a 6th command point. And then the Aether Quartz Brooch that lets you get those command points back on 5. So you could potentially just be infinitely generating Wars, which is why it's called the Infinity War Shock and Bore. The Gorefist lets it pretty much get into combat turn 1, no matter how fucking far back you want to be. 6 gives you 2 attacks. Great. Alex, I know you're in the chat, and he sent me a message because I asked for an update with how many he got basically over the course. Before we were talking about it before the event, and he tracked it for a grand total across 5 games of 63 Wars and 84 bonus attacks, and that is per model, not for one. That is per model. So, for example, like so, what's the, so in his, what was the top you got out of any 14? All right, so he got 9 Wars and 14 additional attacks, which means that was 14 attacks with every fucking weapon on those Gore Grunters and Mega Boss. Now, they're flying across the board, hitting you in turn 1, and between War Chanters buffing them to give them pluses to hit and all of that shit, he basically just pours naked, sweaty pig meat at you until you're done. And it was actually really, really cool. Cool Barney subscribing about Tier 1. You coming to join the fun? Thank you. Wonderful to have you. Always love seeing you little members of the knee stabbing gang coming in. Yes, sorry, per weapon, per model. So it means that like the bloke on the Maw Crusher, him, his fucking Maw Crusher, his fucking everything. It's straight up fucked. I will put it out there, because if you think about that, that means that like the orcs on the back of the pigs are getting like 16 or 17 attacks for them, and then 16 or 17 attacks for the pigs, and then there's 3 pigs in the unit, so there's like what, 34 attacks per model by 3, so there's like 90, 112, 102 or 112 attacks in 3 pigs. And then there's multiple units of 3 pigs, as you can see, 3, 3, 3, 6. Jeebus. That's just some serious fucking hate. But awesome. And just, yeah, really, really cool. I dug it. I thought it was wicked. So massive credit. I think the thing with this list was that it could be beat if someone either screened or did their deployment really tight, or turn 1 could pop that Mega Boss on Maw Crusher. But then there's the little Orc War Boss with his little Great War banner, which is like a mini War factory. So you've got a little bit of like redundancy in the list. But yeah, it did well, obviously, because we're talking about it. It came in 3rd. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, Alex, but I believe you only lost to the list that came in 1st, which fucking says something. When I played against this list, turn 1, he fucking smashed me so hard and deleted probably about 2/3 of my army. And Dwarves are pretty durable, but they just can't stand up to that much hate. So then coming out of that, I fortunately had like 20 Iron Drakes untouched that blew away like 6 pigs, and then the Mega Boss on Maw Crusher. And then after that, it was great because both of our armies had kind of taken the teeth out of each other, and it just came down to like this tactical move and grind and trying to score objectives. So it's a great list, a really interesting army, and it's very fun. Oh, Veronica. Those of you who are in the chat, Veronica plays Daughters of Cain. She was actually my first match at the Wet Coast GT. I'll talk about that in just a second. So yeah, it's a great list, really interesting, and yeah, it was fucking great. Really cool to see. So just for those of you who are kind of joining us a little bit late or missed it before, these were the predictions from the TO and LLV, our statsman / machine / cyborg, sent back in time to give us numbers and teach us how to love. And then the overall results. So a big win for Zinch, who have kind of been a bit quiet, like their whole Jester's Plan shit. They've been quiet for the last little while. But yeah, Grand Alliance Destruction coming in 2nd with a Thunder Tusk heavy brute featuring list. And Iron Jaws taking it out in 3rd, which is just fucking great. Scaventide sneaking in 4th, and Flesh Eater Courts in 5th, which I just put in there because I think it's really interesting that they were so close to the top, but just got pipped. So yeah, that was really awesome. Now, for those who are a little bit interested, I'll just throw these up here because this was knowing that Disciples of Tzeentch, Grand Alliance Destruction, and Iron Jaws came in those positions. These were the stats and the kind of predictions for them and how they would do. So if you're having a look, at the top there, so Skaven, there were 4 players with Skaven, a 55% win rate, and they were predicted to do quite well. Flesh Eater Courts, same, doing absolutely amazing. Now, if you want to have a look at Disciples of Tzeentch, their win rate is only 50%. So to win 5 games, they had to play fucking well beyond their average. Same with, if you go right down the bottom there, so third from the bottom, for those of you who might be listening to the podcast or whatnot, lovely, thank you for joining us. There was one destruction player, and they have a 45% win rate, meaning that they should average probably 2 wins. 2 wins out of all of their games. So coming in second is amazing. If you go just sneak back, just right up, so third from the top, there were 3 Iron Jaws players. Now, Iron Jaws surprisingly make quite a large amount of the world meta of Age of Sigmar. However, they only have a win rate of 40%. So they do find themselves getting shit mixed quite often. So for them to sneak in third is just fucking awesome. So wherever you are, big snaps for those guys because they absolutely crushed it. And fuck, man, Canada/North America, what the fuck is going on with your meta? Because that just blew me away, seeing those results. Now, I'm really disappointed not to see Dispossessed up there. But yeah, it was just fucking awesome. It was a great event, and those results, they warmed the cockles of my tiny, black, bitter little heart. Excuse me. So yeah, now, personally, like, my experience at the event was fucking great. I had an awesome time. I played just legendary people. Actually, I'll have a little chat. Why not? We'll have a little chat about how those Dispossessed did, because one of the things that really does get to me a little bit is how a lot of people talk about Dispossessed as not being competitive or being bored that they keep getting beaten. But to be completely honest with you, I think they're great. I think any army is a winning army if you play the shit out of it and learn how to do it. Now, you can see there in first, Disciples of Tzeentch coming in first, Grand Alliance Destruction coming in second, and Iron Jaws, who are still operating off a very sub-tier book, coming in third. Yes, Skaven Titan and Flesh Eater, of course, were right there, but those armies that did well, Disciples might have a book, but it's been heavily FAQ'd and heavily modified since. It's kind of really cool. But going through some of those events with the Dispossessed. So first up, I came against Daughters of Cain. Now, I will say I have met I played a number of Daughters of Cain players, and Veronica fucked with my head more than any Daughters of Cain player I have ever experienced. I took a 2-drop army, so I got to choose first turn every single event. LOV, thank you so much for that. Dispossessed are now 60% win rates faction. Fucking take that right home. I'm disappointed it's only 60. I would have liked to walk away at 80 just so that I could rub everyone's faces in it, but that's okay. I'll get it up. Next event I'll get it up. But thank you very much for that, LLV. And if you take them to Bobo and drop that win rate, I will fuck your shit right up. Silence, Alex. Dispossessed do not need anything. They're actually, well, I am Dispossessed in the current meta, and just having a cheeky look at that, just to go back for a flash. Dispossessed, that means out of all of them, they are tied for third, I think, most successful faction in Age of Sigmar 2.0 at the moment. The only factions above them, by the looks of things, are Daughters of Cain and what's that? Ideneth Deepkin. Daughters of Cain and Hosts of Slaanesh, with Ideneth Deepkin tying on 60%. Now, LLV, you're in the chat, and I'm sure you will correct me. If that, or you'll fuck up my stats by ruining my army's shit at Bobo and just dragging us right down. I see you. I know what you're planning. That's right. I'll be in your ear. I'll be like, it'll be like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and I'll be your phone a friend. But yes, so Veronica was my first game. Daughters of Cain. It was a pretty stock Daughters of Cain list. Hag, Nar, Cauldron of Blood, 3 Hag Queens, couple of big blocks of stabby ladies, 1 little block of whippy ladies, some flappy ladies, and then of course Marathi. Now the thing that fucked with my head, and I know you're in the chat, and I know you know this, was that she transformed Marathi turn 1 into Big Snake Marathi, flew her up the board, and then didn't charge. And I was like, okay, all right. And that kind of threw me a little bit. And then priority came by, and I think let me give me a second. Turn two, she won priority and took priority turn 2. So this is Star Strike, right? Big fucking unkillable Marathi, really big thing to have in Star Strike. Turn 2, Marathi still didn't charge into combat anywhere. She didn't commit. And at this point, I was like gobsmacked, because I have never played against a Daughters of Cain player who held Marathi back, because she's such a huge points investment, and you know she can't die. So the fact that she'd been held back, she'd been transformed into a big snake and then held back out of anything for 2 turns, kind of, it broke me. Like I that whole side of the board just crippled me, and I was just praying that the Star Strike didn't come down there. And then the stars, fortunately the stars fell in the middle of the board, and one of them fell on the other side. But yeah, the Marathi not going in, I'm all about mental games. I love the pickaxe that the Dispossessed have for teleporting a unit. I love putting a Celestant Prime or something in the sky. Or I loved even just having an Everblaze Comet. That was fun. We'll talk about that in a second. But the whole shtick of them being able to put something where your opponent is just going to be worried about it or mess with their head. And Marathi was that, because there's this fucking full health, keyed out the wazoo beefcake of a stabby lady who was just waiting in the wings and effectively got to the point where she would be unkillable for the rest of the game. And then she committed. And she just, I think she ripped through a hero and then a unit of Iron Drakes. And yeah, it was terrifying. I think she personally killed 460 points, which went a long way to getting her points back, if you want to look like that. But she effectively shut down a third of the board for me, because I knew I had nothing that could put the pain on her. I knew I could do it. Yeah, it was and one of the things she said, so you're in the chat, you mentioned it there too, she always beast modes her out turn 1, and then it was a great game. It was a fucking arm wrestle of a game. Dispossessed, I'm proud to say, got the win in the end by a few points. I think it was by about 3 or 4 points, something in there. Yeah. Dispossessed got the win there. But it was a massive arm wrestle. Kind of like that first hammer blow that came in from them just wrecked a huge chunk of my army, and then managed to push it back, and then managed to push back in there. And it literally was an arm wrestle for everybody for both of us in the off turn, which was a really good game. And also one of those things where when you play someone who's just like a natural maverick but don't know they're doing it. A number of times she made moves and she'd just be like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I was sitting there just like, oh my fucking God, I'm wrecked. Like there could not have been a better move on that one. Or something that I thought I'd put her in a position where she had to make a certain choice, and then she did something else. And it just kind of threw my battle plan. So yeah, she's a maverick. Go put it out there, Veronica. You're a fucking maverick. I had an awesome game against you. And something else that Veronica and I connected with on a spiritual level, which I really like, is now I am all for good form in Age of Sigmar and all kinds of gaming, like not being too serious, not being too and being a good sport. I'm all about it. I think it is. I honestly think that sportsmanship is the most important trophy given out, because effectively that's like player's player, which I think is really important. Which Veronica won. Fun fact. Congratulations, Veronica. But the thing that we both did at the start of the game that I loved, she was like, look, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna laugh when things go bad for you. And I was like, oh no, fuck. Like I'd be putting wounds on like harpy ladies, and I was like, yeah, that's right. Bleed for me, you winged wench. So I really liked that. Like we could both just yell at each other's armies and have fun with it. So yeah, I'd really like to see that a little bit more, because I know that there have been times where, like, I remember killing Nagash and just pointing at him and screaming, bleed for me, you blah blah. I said a lot of very mean things about him. But I remember just my opponent looking at me and being like, oh, okay, yeah, right. And then like he kind of tried it when he killed some dwarves. He was like, yeah, you dumb bearded suckers. And then after that, we had a really great game. So it was cool to kind of meet someone who just straight out of the game was like, something would go bad for me and she'd just start laughing. And I was like, yes, fucking yeah, that's good. That's just good fun. So I had an awesome game. Yeah, wicked game. Really well played, quite tactical. And Dispossessed got the win there. And I have to say, the Everblaze Comet did a good bit of work putting some pain on those Hag Queens. Though there were so many Hagnar saves that just did not go. So Dr. Vulcan in the chat asking, you're starting a Skaven army. There's a strong Khorne and Tzeentch summoning meta in the local area. Any tips? If you're worried about summoning, I guess a big thing would be to have a look at the Vortex first and foremost. It is 100 points. It is insanely underpointed. And it needs an 8 to cast, but you can naturally in your army get +2. One from standing next to a warp hole, one for taking Mastery of Magic as your general command trait. And so you're casting it on a 6. Now the range is insane. If you're looking for stuff on it, check out anything that Dan Brewer's been on. He's a British bloke living in Australia. He is, for my money, possibly one of the top Age of Sigmar players in the world. And he plays Skaven. Like, he was winning tournaments with an Eshin army back before Eshin was a thing, before Skaven had a battle tome, when they had like 2 models and a 1-legged duck. Basically Dan Brewer. That's the answer. The answer to your question is, you want to know how to play Skaven good, Dan Brewer is a good guy to look up his stuff. I'll see if I can get him on for a bit of a chat. But against Khorne and Tzeentch, like, the thing about Khorne is, like, yes, they're going to want to kill your shit. You can flood the board real easy with low-cost models like Clan Rats, Plague Monks, things like that. And you have enough Battle Shock batteries, like in your Inspiring Presence and things like that, to just kind of shut it down, any stuff fleeing. The flip side is you have access to probably more mortal wounds than most other armies. And now Tzeentch might be good at a lot of things, but they aren't good at once they start to lose their heroes. They really rely on their heroes, where I think Skaven possibly are not as heavily reliant on them. So yeah, if you pop that, first of all, that vortex, the 3-point vortex, you put that around a bin chicken like a Lord of Change or even a Gaunt Summoner. So first of all, they can't fly, which means that it's called the Rat Trap for a reason. So if you go point to point 3 around a Lord of Change, he cannot leave it unless he dispels it. Now he needs to roll higher than its casting value, which means he needs to roll a 9 to dispel it, which means he needs to roll a 5 on one of his dice to kind of match it. He's got a decent chance, but he's wasting a spell to get rid of it. And this is the kicker, it goes off twice after you cast it. So on a 6, you effectively do 2d3 mortal wounds to everything in a large bomb. It's fucking great. It is the most underpointed spell, but it fucks everyone up. It also is effectively area denial, which means against Khorne, who love to put models on the board and run forward, bam, 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 you can shut them down. Oh, a few bits, mate. My knowledge is not worth anything, but I'll take any bits you want to throw at me. I need to drink away my sorrows. Actually, ladies and gentlemen, you might have noticed that it's a slightly deeper amber color today. We're just on the Glenfiddich. It's a lovely one if you're just looking for a daily that you can pop away. It's very nice. Alcohol companies sponsor me and give me some stuff. But the other cool thing that I love about Skaven, and the thing that Dr. Vulcan, if you're looking at playing them, I would get excited about. Personally, I would get super excited about, is that they have so much cool shit that then hurts themselves. I remember when the Bombardier came out, like the very first time he fired off a shot. In the hero phase, he like pumped up his spell and blew away a unit of evocators. It was fucking great. And then tried to fire his rocket and blew himself up. So I think the cool thing about them is they are so much fun to play, because you might have moments that delete your opponent and just absolutely shit mix them and wipe them off the board. But then you also have that same unit could potentially explode and take itself or its friends and neighbors. Like, you never know. It's like, you know what? A Skaven army is basically like your dodgy next door neighbor running a drug lab. That's what a Skaven army is like. The bits would be getting dead brewer on. Yeah, fair enough. But your Skaven army, it's the next door neighbor's drug lab. You know, the people that you see going in and out, and you're like, I am not sure that I am living in a good neighborhood anymore. Like that's a lot of just red flags in one area. Now I know this because I used to live next door to a drug lab that exploded. So like literally one evening, I was just in my room chilling out, and then I heard like these two medium-sized bangs, and then this really fucking loud bang that shook the block. And so I went outside and had a look, and there's like vapor and smoke coming out, and coming out the windows and the side of the building. Now, to be fair, there should have been a few red flags, like the fact that there was like lights on all the time, and it was constantly kind of generating like sound, and people were always coming and going, and it was like, yeah, the downstairs lights in this little room were always on, and you could hear pumps working. So this should have been tough. Anyway, bang, 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 wall basically explodes out, and within about 3 minutes, the place was surrounded by cop cars. Like that's what happened. That was my life experience. I was very young at the time, so that was terrifying. But that's what playing Skaven is like. Because sometimes the drug lab is fine, and then other times the drug lab explodes and takes out like half of the wall of your army. Dr. Volgan, another 100, mate. Look, we're taking the time to care. That's all what I'm about. I love talking war dollies. So if anyone ever wants to chat about it, or anyone wants to ask any questions, I will 100% always talk, because I like it. I get frothy over it. It's what excites me. That's what Skaven is. Skaven is your next door neighbor's backdoor drug lab. You don't know how it's going to go. Maybe it's going to be fine and you'll make a lot of money. Maybe it's going to explode and take out all of the shit that you've just put so much time and effort into building and painting. You can't know, but hey, what's the worst that could happen? So they're fun at the end of the day, regardless. Now, before we got sidetracked, talking about the games that I played while I was there. Now, my second game. So my first game was against Daughters of Cain. Went up against Veronica. Fucking awesome game. Dispossessed beat the elves. That's all that really matters. My second game was against another guy that I have met here in Vancouver. We actually played it. He was the very first game I ever played on this continent. His name's Eric. He plays Nurgle / Beasts of Chaos. The last time I played him, he had a list with 4 chimeras in it. And this time, now I always get nervous playing Nurgle because I worry that it's not going to be an exciting game. They can do that with a heavy debuff list and lots of plague bearers and stuff. Because obviously Nurgle is all about the debuff. But his list was like the Beasts of Chaos formation. It gives them the Nurgle keyword so that then they can be taken in a Nurgle army. And like Bestigors, Glotkin, it was fucking awesome. And the game itself was great. The way I would describe it, I've played a number of Nurgle games that came down to a grind fest. This was like, you know, in like Dragon Ball Z or something like that, where they like power up and then it stops being like a hyper like fight, and it's just like a fucking big hit contest. Like they just fly in and deck the shit out of each other and bounce around. That was that game. Basically, in his turn, he just shit mixed a good third of my army. In mine, I blew away a huge chunk of his, and we just went back and forth with the big hits. Like the Glot King got blown away, and then I lost a unit of Iron Drakes, and then this happened. It was an awesome game. We were playing Knife to the Heart as well, and yeah, to be completely honest with you, it was one of the best games I've ever had against Nurgle. Sorry to my Australian mates who play Nurgle. I love you. You're beautiful people. But unfortunately, Eric has you on the interesting Nurgle list. I also really rated his list. It was really cool. It had a lot of neat little tricks to it. It had a few debuffs, but not a crazy amount. So yeah, that was the second game. It ended up being a minor win for the Dispossessed, going down to kill points. And I think like in that last turn, so we got to the bottom of turn 4 and went, you know what, we can fit in a turn 5. And in that turn 5, he killed the last couple of, so we kind of really quickly pushed through it because there were some secondaries. We were like, well, potentially that could come off. In the last turn, he killed the 2 lone Iron Drakes that were holding out a 360 point unit, and I killed a unit of Ungor, and it ended up being 20 points in it or 40 points in it. It was a fucking great game. It was awesome. I have a new and terrifying respect for Bestigor. They just, especially with the Glock King giving him an extra wound, I had to put all 2,000 points of my army had to go into killing 30 Bestigor with double wounds chucked onto him. It was a fucking great game. I loved it. So yeah, it was just awesome. That was game 3. It was a grind and it went right up to turn 5, but it was a really tactical big hit grind, and yeah, I dug it. Game 3, I came up against an army that I have been terrified of for a very long time, which was Legions of Sacrament. And look, to be honest with you, Legions of Sacrament is it's big on my hit list of things that I am scared of, to be honest with you. Braden was playing it. Lovely bloke. Met him a couple of times. Hadn't had a chance to play a game yet. And Legions of Sacrament featuring Arkan, of course, because like he's the OG. It's his place. You'd be wrong not to do it. And fucking the bane of my existence, 30 Grimghast Reapers. So those 30 Grimghast Reapers certainly did a good bit of damage. And the only thing that I can put, I managed to get the win on that one. And I can put it down to only 2 things. And the first one was that a Warden King went onto an objective turn 1 and then pretty much soloed a Coven Throne and a unit of 5 Direwolves to not die and hold that objective all game. He did a real good job. And then in the end, I think he got it down to 1 wound. A Slayer ran in, did nothing. The Slayer died. And then as he died, the Slayer killed it. It was great. So yeah, it was a really cool list. And the other thing that I would say, the only other thing that managed to get that game in my favor was the Grimghast Reapers. They're fucking horrifying. But if you can manage them, they're not as scary. So I think turn 1 or turn 2, I managed to get them down to around 13 to 12 models. And at the end, we were actually talking about it, and he was like, I didn't bring this unit back once. And he's like, usually he flicks them forward, they die like turn 1 or turn 2, then they pop back up, and they're just kind of like a rinse and repeat. And it's a great strategy. I mean, if you have the command points and you have the ability, I don't blame anyone for doing it, which was why I always tried to make sure they were just tagged in combat, that was just worth keeping them in, and that their numbers were kept to a manageable amount. So yeah, his Grimghast survived approximately 210 attacks. Wow. Yeah, and also 4-ups ignoring rend is just fucking great. So it was a really good game. But my army, so I played Dispossessed for those who don't know. Barboncino, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm probably getting it right. I was taking Dispossessed, and the way that Dispossessed play that I would like to describe is, you know, that first kind of big battle scene in 300 where the Persians hit the shield wall and like push them back, and then they lose all their momentum, and then they just they lose their momentum, and then the Spartans push back off and take the momentum. That's how Dispossessed, I feel, play. They're a lot more durable than you anticipate, and then they slowly push you back open and take what they want. If it goes well. If it goes badly, like it did in my last game, which I'll tell you about in a minute, that doesn't happen. So my list for the Dispossessed was the formation, which is pretty redundant, because the Dispossessed formation gives the Dispossessed their allegiance abilities that they get for being in the Dispossessed allegiance. It is slightly better, but effectively you're paying 170 points, so it's pretty expensive for the abilities that you already have. But it's one of those formations that still exists. It's quite large, so just about your whole army fits in it. So the way I saw it, it was 170 points for 50 points for a command point, 50 points, which is what I reckon an artifact is worth, and then 70 points for limiting my drops. And yeah, it was good. So that formation is a Warden King, a Rune Lord, and an Unforged. I took 3 units of 10 warriors, 1 unit of 20 dwarf warriors, 2 units of 10 iron breakers just as a slightly more durable shield, and then a big old 20 of iron drakes as the shooting output. And I allied in, that Stormcast wizard on the weird looking horse thing with the funny mouth. It's a cool model when you see it in real life. Aventus Firestrike, the named character, I allied in him and took an Everblaze Comet. because the one thing I noticed with dwarves is that they aren't really scary turn 1 or at long range. So that Everblaze Comet means that it's got a fucking huge casting range. It is fucked. It's 36 inches, so your cast can be ages up the back, shoot that thing off on a 6, and then just fuck up a whole lot of stuff. Now, the other cool thing about Aventus Firestrike is he's flying, so that means that you can be out of range for that cast and then quickly get back into the action afterwards. So yeah, that was my list, and so far so good, basically. Then we hit the destruction list that came in second. So for those of you who didn't see it before, actually, I'll just pop it back up because, hey, fuck it, we got it right here, so we may as well have a little look. So then I came up against this list right here. Let's see if I don't fuck up this. Yeah, nailed it. So then I came up against this list right here, and it was a really good game. It was really tight, really tactical. I made an error. I mean, not taking anything away. It was not done for. But in the last turn, we were at turn 5, and Nick hadn't won a single priority, basically, which was just fucking, yeah, it was rough. We'd been going pretty much like I gave him turn 1, then I won priority into turn 2, and then priority just stayed. I kept getting it. But the way that then the game played out, we just couldn't. It was a grind, it was a push, but it was like really clever positioning and having to move back to recapture things that had kind of were under threat. It was possibly one of the widest but most tactical games that I've ever played. Like I had dwarves on my very far flanks, which I've never really experienced before. But the thing that ended up kind of coming with it was that, don't worry, LLV, no one else is going to pick up on this. I'm sure people you will play at Bobo won't see this particular one unless someone fucking clips that little sneaky bit about Aventus out and adds it in which case then your goose is cooked, my goose is fucked for the rest of the year, I guess. But the thing that ended up happening was we got to the bottom of turn 4. We kind of figured that it was going to go into kill points, and like I looked at the board and I think I'm up on kill points, and I made a big mistake in that I pulled everything back out of range so he couldn't kill anything. So then final turn 5 ended. We did the add up of the points, and I was down by a couple of hundred. Now that was it's a real dumb mistake on my part. What I should have done is sat there and like just asked, and it's not unfair. I think I'd say that people should be happy to do it. Just say, hey man, I'm so sorry. Can we just take a couple of minutes just to add up where the points are now? Because I want to know whether we're on for a minor or whether I should just like go for broke. Because there was a tiny little chance that a unit of dwarves could fight onto an objective and capture it for the points and the major win, which I looked at. I knew it was there, but then I went, no, fuck it, it's too big a risk, and if he kills that unit, he'll definitely be ahead. So the lesson there, it was a rookie error, it was a dumb error, but the lesson there, I think, is that you do have to take those moments. And I think I've heard a lot of people on other podcasts and a lot of players say that when you're getting into the heat of it and you're getting excited, just step back and take a couple of minutes, just breathe, look at the table, think about shit. I forget to do that because I get drunk and excited. So I done fucked that. Which meant it went down to the minor, went to him, but to his credit, a beautifully painted army of really skilled general. He did not get where he was by accidents. He got there by playing the absolute crap knuckles out of this list. And yeah, massive credit there. And then my game 5. I would like to say that all of my other games were quite strategic and tactical and balanced and went relatively well. But game 5, I came up against a Nighthaunt list. That Nighthaunt list featured a lot of Grimghast Reapers and some Bladegeist Revenants and things like that. And yeah, it done rolled me hard. So the list, which I actually really rated, it was running Bladegeists. It had 20 and a 10 of Bladegeists, a 30 of Grimghast, 2 10s of Chain Rasps, the Shroud Guard, and then just all the fixins with all of the characters. But the way that I would like to describe this match to you. And you know what? Just so that I can give it its like kind of its proper thing, we'll just switch here to a slightly bigger shot so I can make sure you understand this. You know those photos or those videos of people on the beach, you know, and it's someone obviously who's like an Instagram model, and like they really take their shit really seriously, and they've got hundreds of thousands of followers that they definitely didn't pay for. I was that person, and I was standing there, you know, like back to the waves, facing the camera, pouting, and then, you know, in all of those videos, like a huge fuck off wave just comes and absolutely wrecks their shit, like smashes them into the sand, drags them along, and they kind of get up like gasping, just like, what the fuck happened? Oh my god, Jesus Christ. That was my experience against this Nighthaunt list. It just came in, hit me, and then just continued to drag. I mean, it was a great game. It was a lovely player, but sweet Betty Dingus, it was not a good place. It was not a good time for the Dispossessed. They got wiped off the board to a man, and yeah, it was rough. It was a big one. It was rough. And Jeremy, just a very talented player, one of the most talented players apparently, and yeah, he played it incredibly well. I made a couple of small mistakes, and against a player like that, you can't afford to make a single one. The momentum was his. I couldn't slow it. He took it, and then he wrecked me like an Instagrammer who stopped watching the waves. So yeah, it was. Also, I guess Nighthaunt are a really tough matchup for Dispossessed. Dispossessed are great at rend, so you lose probably your greatest strength there. The only thing that my army had that could potentially bust that open was the mortal wounds coming out of a number of different sources, but fucking Aventus Firestrike, mate, managed to fuck up his spells, which is obviously my fault for trusting in shoddy human magic in the first place. So those were my games. They were really good. I was super disappointed at the end of it that I didn't get to play a lot of other people, because I got to meet so many cool people there. Rich, even though he probably would have fucked me up with his Flesh Eater Courts, was a legend, as I spoke about. He has the most glorious and fantastic beard that I have ever, like, it's euphoric. It's a euphoric beard, is how I describe it. It's great. I know I'm going on about it, but it was a wonderful beard. A wonderful man with a wonderful beard. So I would have loved to get to play him. I would have loved to get to re-rolling ones. I know you're in the chat. Would have loved to get to play you, because I think that would have been a really fun little game between our armies. I wish I could have gotten to play that Magic Council list. I mean, they're just like, everyone was so fucking cool. The level of hobby was great. Ricky's trolls I would have liked to kill just to take back my Dwarven Fortress. That's Dimensional Cascade. Again, check them out on Twitch. They've got some really cool stuff. And the world's finest battle mats as well. So yeah, sorry, the guy's asking for a photo of my Aventus. I'll put it up on Twitter, which you can find my Twitter handle just down there. It's just under the bottom. So yeah, that was euphoric. Yeah, that was just so many cool things that I really would have liked to see. Okay, so the other thing that we need to talk about. Now, yeah, re-rolling ones is it. I imagine is a super fucking fun game. I got to be next to a table he was playing on, and I was just like really excited listening to it. So yeah, mate, just a legend. Check out his stuff as well. They do a bunch of battle reports and things, which is really really cool. Now the other thing that we need to talk about today. So that was the Wet Coast GT. These were your final, for those who missed it, these were your final results. First place going to Disciples of Tzeentch. Second place going to a Grand Alliance Destruction featuring 3 Thunder Tusks. Third place going to Iron Jaws, that was the Infinity War, so just the war that keeps on giving. And then Skaven Tide sneaking in 4th, and Flesh Eater Courts coming in 5th. So a really interesting little thing there. But now the thing that we probably need to talk about, right? And the thing that I would really like to take a little... Nope, not that one. That's the one we want. We got to have a little bit of a chat about Slaanesh, right? So Slaanesh is... Oh, going to the Italian finals with Darkling Covens. Fucking, that's awesome, man. That was great. Dr. Vulcan taking off. Have an awesome one, mate. See you later. Get, I don't know, rest or sleep or whatever point in time it is for the day for you. Italian finals with Darkling Commons. Fuck, that's so cool. I think they did CanCon and went 3 out of 6 at CanCon, or 4 out of 6 for Darkling Commons. But yes, we need to talk about Slaanesh. We need to talk about Slaanesh because Slaanesh isn't going away. And if we don't talk about Slaanesh, Slaanesh will probably do mean things to us. Now, the first thing that I would like to talk about Slaanesh is just how great the models are, but how they have very clearly been designed to ruin the person who owns them when they try to transport it or put it in a figure case. Like, you are just... It's not going to be a good time, like, at all. Just a bad time. I mean, look at this. Look at this thing. Look at that. Like, now this one here, the little like mouth thing. That's okay. That's not bad. Your little like wheelie cogs. They're probably a little bit flimsy when you get to like the little ones right on the outside, but they're not too bad. But this fucking thing. Look at that bladed little tongue mouth, right? And tell me that you're not going to snap them off any time you try to transport it. Like, Jesus. I think this Canada list has this release, this Slaanesh release, has been designed to cause the kind of like euphoric pain to its owner that the Slaanesh like models love and live for. Look, I mean, I built a thingy on the Exalted Seeker Chariot once, and jeebus, like the amount of times I like cut myself just trying to build all those spiked wheels. But like, it's not just that one. I mean, look at this thing. Look at the like amazing model. Looks like some kind of weird, sexy Master Blaster for those of you who remember Thunderdome. But do you want to tell me that you're going to be able to transport that in anything without like the little thingy snapping off and probably the top bit just completely separating? Like, you got no fucking chance. This army is beautiful, it's stunning, and you are going to spend your entire life repairing it unless you have some sexy transport thing. And then finally, like the last one, and I think I put this up on Twitter and a lot of people got behind it. Like, that thing. It is an amazing model. Like, God, it looks good. I want it. I want to own it. I want to build it. I want to paint it. I want to do everything. But looking at it, like, just that spear, those things, the hair, the little like coattails and all of that, that's cooked. That thing is going to just separate no matter what happens. I think that's the prototype. The other thing I think is the magnetic like tray box has to be the way to go. But then if you're going like overseas or interstate, like if you fly, what are you going to do? I think it's real interesting. Wish there was more models. Yeah, I'd dig to see a few more models, but hopefully there'll be enough in the release that can be converted with them. Because I honestly think the Disciples of Tzeentch with a little bit of chopping and change, and especially some of the snake ladies from Daughters of Cain would look really good in it. But that's for me is the first thing I saw. I could not help but think how much of a pain that's going to be. But Warhammer Community released a whole bunch of really cool rule stuff as well. So they released the pictures, which were great. Then they released the rules. And to be honest, I love it. I think there's a couple of things that worry me. So what we're going to do is I want to start with the bad news. Start with the stuff that kind of concerns me for it. And then it's all about making your opponent bleed. Yeah, physically, everyone bleeds whenever they touch your models, because either the models break your models or your models kill their models. But the thing that the kind of the bad news, right? So this is my bad news piece. Is I don't like this one. This is the only thing that they shown that I did not get super excited about. Now, Locus of Diversion, at the end of the charge phase, each friendly Hedonite hero, which I believe it might be mortal or it might just be like all of them, it's demons too, so all of their heroes that are within 6 inches of an enemy can create a Locus, and basically if they do, you roll a dice, you add 2 to it if it's a greater demon, and on 4 or more, the unit fights at the end of the combat phase after everything else. Now, if just down the bottom there, I'll just quickly summarize that. That's basically like it says if you've got something that lets you fight first, and then this affects you, they just cancel each other out and you fight normally. So that's probably going to affect Flesh Eater Courts massively. Now, the reason that this doesn't excite me, all right, like I said, don't think I'm pooping on this. This was the one bit that flagged as negative. I wanted to start with it, get it out of the way, and then get back to it. I don't like kind of the rise in abilities and stuff that are allowing you to either fight first in the combat phase or force stuff to fight last. I didn't mind it so much when it started with like Beasts of Chaos and it was that one endless spell, because they needed to cast it, you needed to not unbind it, then it needed to reach you and hit the unit, and then you still needed to get into combat with that unit to capitalize on the fact that you would stop that unit fighting until last. Like, I didn't really mind that one. But then Flesh Eater Courts got stuff where they're always going first. You have now Slaanesh being able to make you go always make stuff go last if they're within 6 inches of hero. Let's remember that. You don't have to be in combat with it. It can be behind the combat and make your guys go last. I don't like that, because for me, the tactical element of choosing combats, going like 1, 2, like trying to decide what to do, is one of the best elements. It's that and the priority roll for me are my two favorite parts of the game, because they're really tactical, they're really tight, and they really force you to think. So I don't like there being multiple abilities now that go off on 4s or automatically go off or can go off once a turn that allow you to mess with that, because I just think that it's taking some of that excitement away. I mean, sound off in the comments if you disagree. I just don't like it as a tactic, because first of all, there's no stopping it. And then second of all, it just kind of is going to choke out stuff for me. So that's kind of where that one sits. However, that really was the only thing that they showed that didn't excite me. And I'm not going to go through all of it, because you should definitely go and check it out. If you like Slaanesh, if you're excited about Chaos, if you're just interested for the release, you should go and see it. But there are a couple of things. There's 3 things that I want to kind of look at, because I think, much like when I was talking about the Fire Slayers a couple of weeks ago, or last week, or whenever the hell it was, they've nailed the feel of it for me, and that's something that I just think it probably took a lot of work to get, and it's fucking awesome. So this one here, the Euphoric Killers, so an unmodified melee attack by Chaos Slaanesh model on a 6, it's 2 hits, but if the unit has 20 or more models, it's 3 hits. That is just, it's great. It is so on theme, it's so perfect. It just really, it's good. It's good. I love it. Jet in the chat. Oh, the one thing I hate is that this show doesn't have a dog. I should get a dog. Or maybe a dingo. Bring one over and then just release it into the wild and see how it acclimatizes. But I think it's so themey. It sits with their thing. The thing that I've noticed, like, I used to have a Slaanesh army before I left Australia. They seem to be like a death by 1,000 cuts kind of army. Like, they've got bulk amount of damage 1 attacks. Like, I think the only thing that had more than 1 attack was the Keeper of Secrets, and I think it was D3 or 2 or something damage. Everything else was like damage 1. So I really dig this vibe. It also like feeds into the image of like demonettes kind of dancing through hordes of troops, just like effortlessly clipping stuff off. It really reads to me. I think it's great, and it gives that graceful and speed kind of thing. I remember it's all about that, like the blade that moves faster than you can see it. Fat Snork, style those things. I agree. I think a lot of, just talking about the combat stuff, I think it's a lot of those things that we might see get FAQ'd and changed, because to be honest, I think anything that slows down or disrupts the flow of the game isn't good. It's like, I don't know how many Aussies are still in chat, because you might have work or you might have families or, like a life. But rugby league and rugby union went through a really big thing a few years ago, where the refs got pulled up and asked only to interrupt and stop the flow of the game if they deemed it necessary or in certain occasions, so that the game could just keep flowing if a penalty or something went off. And it was great for the game. It was really, really good. And now one of the big things that the commentators will talk about afterwards is how often the game needed to be interrupted. So looking at that, I think on an Age of Sigmar, especially because I like to look at Age of Sigmar like a competitive game, like a sport as well, like a T-sport, as we've been talking about it. Anything that stops or slows that or delays the flow of the game. If it was once or twice or on a 6-up and it was a really big thing, yes. The fact that every hero can do it on a 4 or a 2-up is kind of fucked for me. So yeah, it flags as a little bit worrying. But the euphoric killers for me, this is just absolutely on point. It's brilliant, and it's really really well done. So yeah, that just does it. And the spells, that's the other thing. Like hysterical frenzy, you casting roll 7, you pick an enemy unit within 18, and you roll a dice for each model in the unit. For each 6, they cop D3 mortal wounds, which I think that what that is them probably masturbating themselves to death. Like let's not beat around the bush, because that's what they're doing. This is legitimately models masturbating to death. Like they are. It's whether they go into a frenzy and lash out, hopefully not with their bits, basically. But I love it as a spell. Great, really on theme, just fun, and you know it's like I imagine it'd be like throwing just like a whole bunch of like Easter eggs on the floor and then watching everybody eat them, but they've been laced with LSD, so they just freak out, pop their loads, and just end up killing themselves. It's great, it's good, it's beautiful, it's really on brand, and it's fun. It could be absolutely devastating to like those big hordes, but then it could also totally just flop. So yeah, and the last thing I want to look at from the Slaanesh stuff is this one. It's the greater magic. So these, I believe, are only spells that can be cast by the greater demons of Slaanesh. So the named one with the big pointy stick, or just the regular one with like the super flowy cape. So the first one, it's kind of cool. It just gets you depravity points, which you use for summoning, and I'm guessing maybe abilities like Khorne, I'm guessing. Who cares? Second one, though, this is the one that I really like, because it kind of, it's very themey, it ties in cool. So basically, you pick an enemy hero, and they got to be within 12, which I like. It means they got to be close. But until the next hero phase, they can't use command abilities, they can't run, or attempt to charge. So they can move, which is cool. Like, you don't completely stop them, but it's like they're just kind of walking around drunk. And yeah, I really like it. I think it's just fun. There's that kind of thing is really on trend and on theme, like for them. So yeah, I dig it. As far as everything that they've shown off, I think it's great. It breaks my heart that I left all my Slaanesh back home in Australia, or sold it off. I sold a lot of it off before I left, because you can't take it with you. So yeah, I think Slaanesh looks awesome. I think just about all of the stuff that they've been talking about is looking great, to be honest. I don't think that they've really, for me, the only misstep does seem to be that army-wide ability where everyone can stop stuff from happening. So yeah, it was cool. So yeah, digging Slaanesh. I'm digging what they look like, but really, really keen, personally, for some stuff later on looking at the Grand Alliances, because I think the thing that we're missing at the moment in Age of Sigmar is we have all of these armies, but we don't have like the feel of the communities, like Ogre Kingdoms communities. Like, surely Gutbusters and Beastclaw Raiders have some stuff going on, and as a few people have mentioned, in the new Fireslayers book, there is a great little segment that talks about the dispossessed and and mentions the Kharadron overlords and how Grunchny is potentially building something to bring the disparate nations back together. It's super, super cool. Heading off. See you later. Oh gosh. You know what? I'm gonna Redo. That's gonna be it. See you later, mate. Have a good one. But yeah, there's stuff coming out. There was that little. It's only a paragraph, but the dispossessed community just fucking went off. It was great. And it was really, really interesting to see them get a mention. So I'm hoping that these Grand Alliance books that are rumored and people are talking about are coming down the line, because I think that'd be fucking awesome. And that's what I really think the world of the Mortal Realms, or the realms of the Mortal Realms, could use, is that that humanity, like humanize the stories and the people, so that we know who they are, so we can love them. But yeah, that's just about it. Next week, I'm going to be having a chat with a legend of a bloke from back in Australia. I believe he has actually booked out a conference room at his work so that he can come on and talk water lilies. Bloke's name is Mike. I hope I'm not over-promising and under-delivering, but Mike has been playing Fire Slayers since just about the start. He bought a whole Fire Slayers army before that start collecting box. So in Australia, he was paying $100 for 10 of the Berserkers and $180 per Magma Droth. I think he's got 6 Magma Droths now. So really excited to have a chat to him. We're going to talk the new Fire Slayers book now. I know that everybody else will have had a chat to him, but two Aussies talking shit about naked bearded dwarves is going to be great. We're going to have a talk about a few other of those bits and pieces. And the other thing that I'm going to put together is just a little thing about Dispossessed, because one of the things that a lot of people keep hitting me up after the Wet Coast GT is asking about why I chose the allies I did and what I put in. And actually a few people have been messaging me on Twitter asking about that as well, because a couple of shows ago I spoke about how important it is to look at your army and find the gap, or find what it doesn't do well, and then ask like what allies can bring to that. So we might have a chat about that and give some examples. That's going to be next week. For right now, it's time to say goodbye. I'm so sorry. I'm going to miss you. But we'll be back next week. You can catch this show previously by watching it again. If you're only just joining us, you can catch it out again by watching it here. We're going to be shoving it on the podcasts. And I do just want to throw out one last shout out to all the awesome people that I met at Wet Coast GT. And again, just Dimensional Cascade. You've got an awesome setup. You've got some super great looking shit. And the battle mats are just, they blow my mind. Like I feel like the man who drank the first hot chocolate and was just like, what majesty is this? It's super cool. Check out their content. They're on Twitch. LOV wants me to save the Dispossessed expose until after Boba. Yeah, I'll do that. But thank you so much, everyone. You've been great. Everybody that I met at West Coast, you fucking legends. Miss you already. I was actually really sad, like coming away from that. I was like, there's a little bit of a downer, because all of a sudden I was out of that awesome environment. But it got me really frothy to get back into it. So I'm looking at all these other events that are coming up. Which would be really cool if I can get the money together to get out to those. Mats, baby. Excuse me. Next week we're going to be talking Fire Slayers and whatever else the fuck comes up, which would be really cool. But thank you to everyone who is a subscriber, who supports the show on Twitch or Patreon. You are statistically more attractive and better lovers. That's just a scientific fact. Our scientists have confirmed it. It's researched. It's true. It's got to be the honest truth, because it's the honest wargamer. But everything that on the show, whether it's sound equipment, cameras, tech, like Scrivo doing all the art, all of that comes because we love doing it and we want to create it, and any money that comes into the show goes into the show as well. So every bit, every donation, every Patreon supporter, every subscriber, all of it. Every dollar it goes into the show, which is actually super cool. Makes me really happy to be a part of. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been lovely to have you, and I'll see you all next week. If there's anything that you want to hear about, if there's anything that you are interested by or would like a mildly drunken Australian take on, feel free to send me a message, whether on any of the various many social media pipes, and I will try to make that a thing. But yeah, that's it for me. Thank you very much. It's been wonderful to have you again, and thanks for dropping in. I'll see you all next week. Cheers.